All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. We're going to dive deep today into something I know a lot of you are really passionate about, and that's reading.
Yes.
I'm a reader myself.
Right.
Love books. And one of our listeners sent in this really fascinating excerpt.
Okay.
It got me thinking a lot about, these reading challenges that we see online and these massive TBR piles that I know a lot of us are struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And it really begs the question, are we letting these things kind of take the joy out of reading?
It's so interesting that you say that because it seems like it's very much connected to just this overall societal pressure that we all feel to quantify every single thing.
Right.
And even reading, which should be this, a very personal and enjoyable escape even, that is getting caught up in, how many books can I read? How fast can I read them? And it's like, are we really getting anything out of it?
Yeah. And I've totally been there where, you start to feel this pressure like, oh, I have to read, 50 books this year or 100 books this year, or I have to keep up with, all the must reads that everyone's talking about. But like, is that actually making me a better reader? Or is it just making me a faster reader?
Totally. And that's where the research comes in. And some of the stuff that we read that you sent in about how focusing on the book count can actually lead to lower reading comprehension and retention.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's because, you're more focused on just getting through it.
Right.
As opposed to, really absorbing and thinking about and reflecting on what you're reading. So it's almost like, would you rather speed date a dozen people?
Right.
Or have a really deep conversation with one or two people?
Yeah.
It's about quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about TBR lists.
Yes.
I love discovering new books. I love getting recommendations. But sometimes that list feels more daunting than exciting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So the source mentioned this idea of a mind dump method.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So tell me more about this.
Okay, so basically, instead of treating your TBR list like this, obligation, like I have to read all these books.
Yeah.
It's more of a place to capture these recommendations, but not feel pressured to read everything immediately.
Okay.
It's almost like having, a running list of restaurants you want to try. Just because it's on your list doesn't mean you need to eat there tonight.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah. No, I like that. But I do have to say, I do love that anticipation of a book waiting on my list.
Oh, for sure.
Isn't there some value in letting that excitement build?
Totally. And I think it's about striking a balance.
Okay.
Because if that TBR list becomes too overwhelming, it can actually discourage you from reading anything at all.
Interesting.
So the mind dump method frees you up to be like, okay, what do I actually want to read right now?
Yeah.
What am I in the mood for? You wouldn't binge every TV show that's on your watch list all at once.
That's a really good point.
Right.
Okay, so how does all of this tie into this idea of intentional reading that we're talking about?
So intentional reading is more about aligning your reading choices with your goals.
Okay.
So are you looking to, learn a new skill? Are you reading to explore different perspectives, or is it purely for entertainment?
Mm-hmm.
And so by choosing books that match your intention, you can actually make the reading experience that much more enriching and purposeful.
Okay.
And so it's like thinking about it in terms of fitness goals. Are you training for a marathon, or are you just looking to move your body a little bit?
So it's all about asking yourself, like, what do I want to get out of this
Exactly.
reading experience? Do
Yeah.
you want to learn? Do I want to escape? Do I want to, challenge my perspectives? And once you know that you can really curate that reading experience to actually serve you.
Yes.
Right.
100%. And this is where I think slowing down becomes super crucial.
Okay.
Because the source compared it to savoring a meal.
Right.
Like if you rush through it, you're going to miss all those subtle flavors.
Yeah.
And the same goes for reading. I mean, you're taking your time to really absorb the language, the ideas, the story. All of that allows you to appreciate the depth of what you're reading so much more.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of highlighting passages
Yes.
that resonate with me, or writing little notes in the margins.
Yeah.
It helps me stay engaged and remember those key takeaways.
That's such a good strategy because it really transforms reading from this passive consumption to an active engagement.
Right.
You're having a conversation with the author, with the ideas, with yourself even.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've challenged this idea of book count as being this, ultimate metric of a good reader.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored some ways to manage those sometimes overwhelming TBR lists.
Right.
And really dove into the power of intentional reading and slowing down.
And I think the main takeaway is it's your reading journey.
Yeah.
Choose books that excite you, read at your own pace, and don't be afraid to ditch a book if it's not sparking joy.
I love that. And as a final thought for you listening out there, what one small change will you make to your reading habits to reclaim that joy and the depth of just getting lost in a good book?
That's a good question.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
See you next time.
See ya.